Hi everyone, and welcome back to Art with Mrs. S. Today we're going to be creating a paper collage, and to do that you're going to need a couple different colors. You're going to need a brown piece of paper that's fairly large. You're also going to need red, that's also pretty big, and then some other various colors. You're especially going to need yellow. I also like to use orange, and white is also a nice scrap to have. And if you have other colors like green, you may want green or gray. Gray color paper is kind of hard to come by sometimes. You'll also want to make sure that you have something to glue with. I use this Elmer stick glue. And you'll also want scissors. And if you like to draw out your designs, you can have something to draw with. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with our brown paper. And I'm going to draw a big circle. If you have something to trace for this big circle, maybe you have like an ice cream lid, you can use that, or something else around your house. If it's not perfectly even, that's not going to be a big deal. Once I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and cut this shape out today, because this is going to be the crust for our pizza collage. Tracing around. I like to save my scraps from this project as I'm working in case I need that color for something else. I'm not wasting a big piece of paper. So now I have the brown crust. If you have tan or beige, those also work for this project. And the next piece of paper I'm going to want is red. This piece needs to be smaller than the brown because it's going to be my sauce. So I'm going to draw this detail out as well. And instead of a circle, I'm going to kind of draw this bumpy blob. Looks like a paint splat or sticky splat to make my sauce. If you don't want your sauce as kind of messy looking as mine, you can do bigger curves, or you can just draw another circle or oval kind of shape to go on your crust. I kind of like this curvy in and out design or pattern for my sauce. My chef didn't put it on perfectly even and smooth it out. It's kind of messy. And when I'm done with this paper, I want to save my red because I might need those later on my collage for something like pepperoni or maybe like hot peppers. You notice I like to flip my paper over if I saw where I drew so I don't see those on there. I just flip it over and plop it on there. If yours is bigger and comes off the edges of your pizza, that's not a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and glue this on, so I'll flip it back over. When I'm gluing, I just glue around the edge of where I cut. I don't need to fill this whole backside. It's kind of a waste of glue. You flip and press down and make sure it sticks. If it's not sticking, you can always press down and hold for 3 or 5 seconds and lift back up. I don't need to hit my artwork. I don't need to get frustrated because it keeps sliding off. I can just hold and press down. The next thing I need for my collage is the cheese. I'm going to be using scrap paper and a little nicer, newer cut paper. And I kind of like to create these rectangular strips because that's going to make it a lot easier to cut out little pieces of cheese. So I'm going to cut these smaller rectangles very easily from that larger one I just made, chopping all the way across. And this is a great way to make a lot of pieces very quickly. If you are a very good cutter, you could put a couple of these on top of one another and cut even more pieces out. Always cutting away from myself, and I like to put my thumb in the smaller piece of my scissors and then my piece fingers down at the bottom. So I'm going to kind of show you, if I wanted to cut more than just one piece at a time, I could cut these out together, keep them on top of each other, and then when I cut, I get 2 pieces. Wouldn't do too many more than 2. Sometimes it can get kind of bumpy looking or dangerous because you're trying to chop through those pieces a little too hard. You might cut yourself. It does take a little bit of cheese. If you want to add in other types of cheese, you could add in more of a cheddar cheese, or maybe you could use white and maybe have more mozzarella or Parmesan cheese on your pizza. If you don't like a lot of cheese, then don't add a lot of cheese on your pizza. Cut those big rectangles. You don't want to overdo it and have too much cheese, too much left over. Then it kind of just goes to waste. You have to throw in the trash. So once I get a decent little pile of cheese, I can start gluing on my cheese. And then we can start thinking about other details or other colors I might need. I'm going to show you how to create an onion, a pepperoni, and if we have time for it, also a mushroom. To glue down my cheese, to keep things not too messy, I like to put down just a little area of glue, and then I take these pieces and press down very quickly. That way I'm not getting a lot of glue on my hands. Another style that you can do, if you kind of put this on your glue and squash, and then your fingers should stay very clean. You shouldn't have pieces of cheese sticking to you. What you don't want to do, you don't want to just kind of confetti this on there and lay it down. It won't stick, and then when it dries, all that cheese is going to come off your paper collage, and we don't want that. We'll keep going on here. I'm going to try to do this quickly so we can get to our other parts today. But this is going to take probably the longest time out of your collage, is getting all that cheese on there, especially if you like a lot of cheese, like I do. I'm going to add all those pieces on. Maybe there's some on the crust. Maybe there are pieces overlapping or going over top of one another. Don't want a lot of that sauce showing, that red. So I just have to keep going and going and going and building up those layers, that paper collage layers. Adding some nice variety. I don't want to take up too much of your time showing you, so I will not completely finish this before I show those. I will add the rest of my cheese here when I'm done showing you these details. To make an onion, this is kind of hard, but it works really good. I'm going to take a scrap piece of white and draw a circle. And then to cut an onion, we're going to actually cut inward like a spiral. So it kind of looks like I was drawing a cinnamon roll. So to cut this, I'll cut out that circular shape first. And then where that spiral starts, I'm going to cut in, and I'm turning around and around and around until I have this kind of springy spiral. You don't have to have a spiral onion. Onions, sometimes you just see little pieces. So I can just use my scraps and cut chunks of onion too. I also might see some pepperonis. Pepperonis are the easiest to make because there's more circles. And I could just draw a circle, or if you're comfortable cutting a circle. And sometimes just to add a little variety or some texture, I can just do some dots on there. If you have a different red scrap piece of paper, you might use those instead. And cut many of these. And if you really like pepperoni, you can do lots of pepperonis all around. Don't have any gray paper today, so I'm going to use this white, and I could color it gray. I'm going to draw a mushroom. I draw kind of like a tree trunk, and then I give it this kind of top like a tree too, or it looks like one of those fountains. And I can cut that out. White works too. There are some white mushrooms. I kind of prefer making them gray, so I can tell the difference between my mushrooms and my onions. And you can keep adding. If you have other colors or other preferences, you can add those green peppers. You can add on lettuce, or if you have a special ingredient that you like on your pizza, add those for texture, for some variety of color, and then don't forget to glue them down. When you get done and everything's glued, I like to kind of turn it upside down, make sure nothing falls off. You could also get creative and cut this like a pizza and kind of create a pizza puzzle collage. But don't forget to share a picture of your artwork, post it to Padlet, put your first and last name and classroom teacher. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you had fun.